Resident Evil Requiem's pre-orders are now live, so whatever platform you're on, whether it be PlayStation, Steam, Nintendo or Xbox, you can just go on their website, go on their store, and obviously pre-order it for yourself. Now, an interesting thing Capcom's done is done a recap video of basically some of the games, not all of it. It's not really a true 30th recap of sorts when it comes to the games, because there's a few that's definitely missing, like for example obviously Resident Evil 0, the remake of Resident Evil 1 and the original and stuff like that. But I guess I don't know if they just don't really want to acknowledge it too tough, and also Code Veronica is missing, or that because they just want to replace all of those with the remakes, which is kind of, I don't know how I feel about that. But either way, they did provide a recap of sorts, which are kind of a little bit strange because they put Spencer and talked about him quite a bit in this video, and they didn't really go on to say like he was dead or alive, which is really strange because we all know, well, if you played the previous games like RE5 and stuff like that, then you will know that he is dead. So it's a little bit strange that they're making him so that's like up in the air what happened to his, I don't know, life afterwards. I don't know if they're obviously planning to bring him back. They did really put a strong emphasis on Spencer in this whole video. In my opinion, it just couldn't really be ignored so much, like it was just right there, right in your face. Although the video for itself was just a recap of certain things, we did get a little bit of little footage at the end, showing a little bit of different angles of certain scenes, and obviously I think Grace using a gun that looks very reminiscent to what she had in the other trailer. Again, obviously her wielding it, and the zombie itself actually kind of looked almost very aware that it was a zombie. Like you can still see a little bit of human inside there. I don't know if this game is playing around with how zombies are, which I'll probably make a more different video about that, maybe a short or something, I don't know. But it is an interesting detail. Obviously we do get a closer look at our mysterious friend over here, and nothing else really. Again, also I guess a little bit of Grace's reaction, which honestly you can tell she's just going to be really traumatized throughout this whole journey, and I do feel bad for her. But what we are looking forward to is uncovering this whole mystery and her fate. So I guess we'll just have to wait and see in February to see what happens to Grace. Last thing I want to point out before we dive into like the deluxe edition and all that stuff when it comes to pre-orders is that I noticed that James Marcus as well as Edward, obviously Ashford, is of course blacked out. And I don't know if this is to tease the idea of a Code Veronica and RE0 remake, but it's definitely kind of giving that sort of vibe. Plus, we also had some recent information about Resident Evil 0 and how the game will have some new stuff added into it, as well as a few other things, and also voice actors and I think mocap work or motion work, something along those lines. I just thought I might as well point that out since those two characters was blank and obviously their games are potentially getting a remake, and I just wanted to drop that in quick. Okay, let's take a look at this deluxe edition. So apparently you'll be getting obviously 5 costumes, a few weapon skins, or total 4, 2 filters, a little bit of weapon charms, some audio packs from the old games, and of course some files about, I think, what is it, 1998, obviously that's when Raccoon City went down, and of course we are revisiting, so it just makes sense that they'll drop some files here and there for you to actually indulge. Speaking of which, it's very interesting that we are getting a Lady Dimitrescu Grace skin, which obviously is probably just to capitalize on those fans who, well, kind of bought Resident Evil Village for that same reason. So I guess it is kind of a smart way of marketing the game and obviously getting people to be like, hey, look, it's Lady D, you can get obviously Lady Dimitrescu in there. And of course, people will probably buy it, which is a smart maneuver. Though I will admit it doesn't really fit Grace, and not only that, I really think they should probably do a Claire or Jill kind of costume thing for her, which would be absolutely fire in my opinion. We also get this pre-order bonus skin, which is obviously like an Apocalypse, probably a reference, or definitely a reference to the movie, the live action movie, if you watched that. Obviously I don't really like those, so hey, if you're a big fan, then all into you, man. That's just personally not something I really vibe with completely, but I do like it. It does look really cool. Something that seems really interesting is there's strong support for Resident Evil Requiem on Switch 2, as you'll obviously get a generational pack, which is an interesting unique bundle for the Switch 2, where you can obviously get Resident Evil 7 Gold Edition and Resident Evil 8 Gold Edition and Resident Evil Requiem, of course. Obviously both of those games, Resident Evil 8 and obviously 7, are both £10 on top of obviously Requiem, which is I think what, 70 or something like that. So that's a pretty sick deal in my opinion. I think honestly that's pretty awesome. And the good thing is that they are obviously, I guess, not cloud ports this time, so if you're looking forward to buying Resident Evil games on the Switch 2, then you have something to look forward to. However, I would like to point out that these are game key cards, so yeah, unfortunately they're not all on the cartridge, so a little bit of a depressing news, and that's probably why they're just £10 because it's a game key card. Otherwise, I think this pack would have been a lot more expensive. Also, the Switch 2 does come with a unique Switch 2 Pro controller, which obviously has like the newspaper sort of report of Resident Evil Requiem on the design of the Switch 2 Pro controller, which I find really cool and is funny because this is the first Switch 2 Pro controller edition and it's for Resident Evil of all things. Not something I was definitely seeing coming. I thought maybe they would have done that with, I don't know, Pokemon or any of the other stuff, but clearly Resident Evil wanted a little bit of that pie, and obviously they're getting it. Of course, obviously Nintendo and Capcom naturally has very like a strong bond with each other, so it isn't something too shocking, but it still is a little bit shocking. Again, I don't know how much support they're going to really dish out when it comes to RE on Switch 2, but hey, this is a really good sign, except for the geek card bit, which is not really an issue for me, but I know people who love to collect things physically and all that stuff, that is a big no-no. This one comes as a bonus and also a little bit of a spoiler or potential spoiler, as this is a leak, so obviously take things with a grain of salt, and if obviously you don't want spoilers for Resident Evil Requiem, then please do click off, as I don't want to ruin your experience. But apparently, Leon will be somewhat or something in this game, as there was a leaked skin or something or weapon skin for Leon, and it is kind of interesting because of course they did tell us that we was getting like 5 costumes. I don't know if that Apocalypse skin counts as one, but of course if that's the case then we'll probably get some skins obviously for Grace and maybe like 2 or something for Leon, which would be a very interesting thing. It wouldn't surprise me as much because again, as much as I know Grace will obviously probably, I don't know, chug through this, you know, just go along with it, I feel like she might need some sort of backup, and that's something I've been theorizing for a while, whether that be Chris or whatever, someone at least experienced, and doesn't have to be a part of the main story, but can obviously be alongside with Grace. Sort of like how Chris was in Village, not really a major role, he was just kind of a background character. Well, that wraps up everything I had to say in this video. Of course, if you are new around here, definitely hit that subscribe button and like the video if you enjoyed it. And obviously, if you love more RE content, then definitely hit that notification bell. That way you get notified whenever I make a new RE video. With that all said and done, peace out guys and have a lovely day.